Yes, 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 yes. What's going on, family? It's good to have you here. Um, let's, as they say in the words of Black Eyes Peas, let's get ready to get this started. I'm still working out the kinks that should have kicked up in the other window, but be it as it may, we're still working out the kinks. We'll get there. First and foremost, man, we have a show for you tonight. For real, for real. We have a serious show for you this evening, and we're going to hop into it. It's going to be it's going to get real, and it's going to get real in the fields, and I mean that in several ways. But first, let me do some of the basic homework that is necessary, or the basic house cleaning rules that we need to sort out. First and foremost, let's take care of uh, how this is going to work. First, my name is Hasira Soul Ashemu. I'm your host tonight for the Righteous Rage Institute podcast. I'm super excited to be here with you. We're going to be digging into some dope topics. This topic tonight is hot and heavy. We're coming in hot. We're coming in hot tonight. Um, and we're specifically dealing with a topic that has gained a lot of media attention as of late, and what that's looking like. You can see it in the thing. We're going to be dealing with Candace Owens tonight. It's time to go ahead and set the record straight on Candace for quite a few reasons. As you can see on the left side of the screen, I have the 2 minute take line. If at a given point you have a take that you want to hop in the show, you got something to say, go ahead and download that. You got 2 minutes to give your 2 minute take. And I have to tell you, don't get on your pulpit. This is not the spot. This is not the time for you to hop on the pulpit. You got 2 minutes to give your hot take, to get in and to get out. That's the hot take line right there. So it'd be great to have you on. If you have something that you want to share with us, I'd be more than happy to hear it. I want to say what's up to all the folks that are starting to load in right now. Good deal. We haven't started yet, just giving the basic introductions. It's been a very interesting week, as of course. And today is going to be a very interesting topic. So I'm going to go ahead and take that 2 minute take line. I'll put it back up periodically in the show. For those of you who haven't seen it already, just save it. If you haven't saved it, I'll pop it back up there throughout the show. So let's go ahead and pull that down. And let's get ready to hop into this. Um, what we're going to be doing. What's up, Vincent? It's good to have you here, brother. It's good to see you. It's always good to have Vincent in the house, so that we can go ahead and uh, dig into some hot stuff. Candace Owens. Candace Owens. Okay. So, for those of you who don't know who Candace Owens is and why she deserves her own show, it's important for us to do uh, some basic introductions here. Let me introduce you to Candace Owens. Candace Owens is a African American Black woman who has become. What's up, Larry? It's good to see you in the house, homie. Larry. At a given point, I'm gonna put up this line for you to call in if you wanna hop in here, get your take on some of this. That'd be cool. So Candace Owens, as I was saying, is a 31 year old African American woman, Black woman, who this week fell into the spotlight again by making this video about George Floyd. And we're going to get into it. We're going to actually break down the video. But before we break down the video, I just felt like it was important to talk about who Candace Owens is, right? And then we're going to break down her video to show it for the bullshit that it is. And we have to call bullshit out when we see it. And we're going to do it in a very clear, concise way. We're not going to just get into name calling and slandering. We're not going to talk about her edges. We're not going to talk about the fact that she's married to a white dude. We're not going to get all into that. I mean, we'll reference it, but we're not going to get into that because the truth of the matter, it's not really personal. There have been, as long as there have been black people being exploited, there's been Candace Owens that exist. She's just the new flavor of the year, so to speak, when it comes to selling out your people or propagandizing for profit is probably the best way to say it. And so Candace Owens is the latest iteration of Sambo. And so we're going to talk about that and we're going to get into it. There's a piece of me that wants to, I just mentioned the word Sambo. And so as we get into talking about or digging into this, it's important that we talk about terminology that we'll use, because people think that if I say Sambo or if I say these type of terms that I'm actually calling her a name, and I'm not. Right? There's names that refer personally to someone. There's also names that there are names that are positional. They represent people who are in particular positions. Let me give you an example of one that you may have heard before. There's a term that black people use called crackers. Now, when white people hear the term cracker, right, they may feel, and especially those that are those that are reactionary, and like they use fantasy words like what is the word, reverse racism, which is a fantasy word, right? It's an invention of whites, the mentality of white racism, right? But let's dig into this term, because I'm going to be using the term Sambo, Sambo Owens, as a matter of fact, as we go throughout this, and people are like, oh, you're calling her out her name. No, not quite. What I'm really doing is I'm referring to her position inside of the plantation hierarchy. Okay, that's what Sambo means. For those of you who are not familiar with Sambo, Sambo was a character in a book by Beecher Stowe. And Sambo took on a position on the plantation where he would beat the more progressive African American or the black slave named Uncle Tom. It is a misnomer that Uncle Tom represents somebody who has sold black people out. That is not who Uncle Tom was. That's not where that term originated. It's a misuse of Uncle Tom. Uncle Tom was actually about it. He got the name Uncle because he was very protective of the slaves in his charge. The person who actually deserves our ire in that story is the personage of Sambo. Now, Sambo beat and killed Uncle Tom because Uncle Tom was protective of the slaves. So that's first things first. We got to clear that up. So when I talk about Sambo Owens, aka Candace Owens, I'm not name calling her. What I'm doing is that I'm describing her position within the plantation hierarchy, where she is used for a very particular purpose. What is the purpose that Candace Owens is used for? That's very simple and a very easy question to answer. Candace Owens is used to absolve white people of their guilt. That's the only reason why she's there. That's the position that she's there for. She absolves white people from the guilt that they're supposed to feel for the position that they occupy on the plantation. What's up, Sister Trina? It's good to see you in the house. That's what Candace Owens, that's what Sambo represents. Just like the position of redneck. Let's talk about it, right? Sambo is to black people what redneck is to white people. Now, why, when white people hear them somebody called a redneck, why did black people and white masters call some white people rednecks? Very simple. There were two, and on the plantation system, there were different types of white people. Two in particular. There was master, who sat in the house and owned everything, didn't come out in the sun, drank Kool-Aid, Kool-Aid, lemonade, chilled on the porch, watched and saw everything, right? He was the owner. Then there was the overseer. Now, the overseer was the white boy that had a little more privilege than the black people in the fields, but he had to sit out there in the fields as long as there were black people out there in the fields. And because he had to sit out in those fields, his neck would get red. And when white folks saw that, they used it. So let's say this overseer goes into town or goes to an event. If your neck is red, then those people who are the highfalutin of society know that you weren't much better than a nigger. You were out in the fields too because your neck is red. White folks, you have to understand, back in the colonial days before tanning became $1 billion industry, white folks took pride on how pale they were. So to be as pale or quote unquote fair was to be as white and not to be touched by the sun, thus the umbrellas, thus all of that, pomp and circumstance about staying in the shade, because as you may know, the sun doesn't really like our pale brothers and sisters all that much. They get burnt to a crisp pretty quickly. And so to be fair or to be pale was seen to be in the upper echelons of society, because if your neck was red and your face was red, that means you was out in the cotton fields or out in the sugarcane fields with the help. Okay? So that's why we called them rednecks, because rednecks were the most brutal initially, right? Positionally speaking, they were the most brutal of white people because they were the ones that would do the whipping. They were the ones that would do the discipline. So rednecks represented to us the most brutal aspect of our existence. And so that's what rednecks and crackers, which from the cracking of the whip, that's what those white people represented to us. Massa represented something else. And I know I'm going a long way around, but like I said, I want to educate about Sambo Owens more than I want to castigate her, as I want for us to understand where she stands in plantation hierarchy. That's important for us to understand before we dig into the video where we break her down, which is what we're about to do in just a moment, right? So we just broke down. There's the overseer, the cracker, the redneck, who was the poor white trash, is what they would call him today, trailer park trash. That is who that was, whose boot was directly on the neck of black people. Now, the owner was Massa, and Massa stayed in the shade, right? And so, not to be confused. Now that we're clear. Now, where does Sambo Owens, aka Candace Owens, stand in the middle of all that? Well, this is where Candace Owens, Sambo Owens, stays. She rests in the part of the plantation system where she absolves white guilt for the crimes, the moral degradation of plantation living, of oppression. That is what Candace Owens is there for. That's why she gets so much love. And many people say, so why even deal with Candace Owens? Why do you even talk about her? Why even bring her up? Well, that's a very good point. Trust me when I say this, y'all. There'll be a new Candace Owens a couple of years from now. So don't switch, right? Don't trip. It's not about her. It's about people and how white supremacy uses certain black people, and certain black people allow themselves to be used in order to absolve white guilt. Candace Owens is dangerous from this perspective, or should I say, Sambo Owens is dangerous from this perspective, because she confuses white people who could be allied to those people on the plantation that are being oppressed. She could confuse them, and she does. She confuses white people. She confuses white people who have not yet understood. And don't get me wrong, when I say she confuses them, she confuses white people that want to be confused. She confuses white people that want to be confused. And when I say that, what I mean is that in order to believe and fall into the Candace Owens line of thinking, there has to be a part of whiteness that is dealing with white guilt. Now, let's break that down. Let's break down white guilt, and then we're going to get into the video and break the video down. There is there is a piece of and I just pulled it up here. It's called Anatomy of White Guilt. Let me pull this down so that we can see it clearly. And actually, let me even shrink myself. Anatomy of White Guilt. Now, the reason why this is important, right? The reason why it's important that we talk about this, and I want to close that. There we go. I want all of my white allies to go and black folks to go download and get this piece written, and it's very, very informative piece. It's a piece called The Anatomy of White Guilt. I'm going to drop the link right now into the feed because I want you to download it for all my white allies who are seeking to become accomplices. And in this paper, I just dropped it in there for you. In this paper, it talks about the anatomy of white guilt. And in fact, let me pin that for y'all so it don't go nowhere. And in this white guilt, she talks about 4 pieces of white guilt: amnesia, anesthesia, indifference, and denial. What Sambo Owens represents is the anesthesia of white guilt. She's there. She is the Novocaine for white guilt. She helps white people who know that this system is is morally corrupt, that know that this system is unjust. She provides Novocaine and justification in their minds that allows them to anesthetize, and to be in denial to what is taking place so that they can be indifferent and forget about it. Y'all following me there? I told you, listen, I'm not here to call Candace Owens any Sambo Owens any names. I'm here to break her down to her very last compound. Right? I don't have to, I go get receipts. There's no reason for us to really get into hating her. There be some type of emotional exchange between the two. It's important to understand where the Sambo Owens of the world, why they exist in the first place. And this is why they exist, because they absolve white guilt. But in this paper, it goes even further. It goes even further to say that's really why Sambo Owens exists. That's really why Sambo exists in the first place. Yeah, I pulled myself down. My fault, y'all. When I get on a rant, when I get inside of it, I pull myself down and the microphone shuts off. My bad. Y'all didn't miss anything. You just should have been reading it. But suffice it to say, Sambo Owens is there to absolve white guilt. I'm not going to go any deeper into that. Just go and download the paper that talks about white guilt and her absolving of white guilt. So, lastly, before we break down this week's video that Trump tweeted out, I want to pull up some receipts on who Candace Owens was, right? Candace Owens, and before she became the darling of the Republican Party, the Conservative Party, she went to the NAACP and used them to sue on a former employee based on the issues of race. Now, here in 2019, 2020, she claims that racism is over. Now that she got her 30 pieces of silver. Let's continue to break her down. Let's continue to pull out the receipt, shall we? Here. She was suspended recently by GoFundMe because of the George Floyd video that we're going to break down. So without further ado, let's hop into breaking down Sambo Owens' video. It's going to take a minute. I'm going to stop it when I feel like it's necessary, and then we're going to go from here. Listen, as they say, buckle up, Buttercup, because we're about to break your girl all the way down. And I'm gonna give a shriek myself right here as we go through it. Sambo Owens in 3, 2, 1. Let the fuckery begin.
Hello, Facebook family. I have decided.
Let me stop it right there, just from the get-go. I did a video about Sambo Owens about 2 weeks ago where I made mention of her edges. And I said that you could tell that she had sold out the Black community by the way her edge, all I'm going to say is that she has taken care of her edges. She must have been watching my podcast. Candace, thank you for doing that, sister. We were worried about that alone. It was a telltale sign. Now, it's still the t-shirt that keeps giving you away. I don't know why you keep rocking your videos with t-shirts, but whatever. Let's go ahead and break this down.
To do this video, it has been weighing very heavily on my heart, and on my mind as well. And it was something that I wanted to say early on, but there were so many emotions and so much pressure for me to go with the popular opinion about who George Floyd was. And sometimes it can be difficult when there are just so many external pressures to say what you believe. And this was an instance where I felt like my silence would have been better in the beginning, but the more that I think about it, I realize that we are being sold a lot of lies, and at the detriment to the Black community, at the detriment to the white community, and at the detriment to America as a whole. So I want to come out and say that I do not support George Floyd and the media depiction of him as a martyr for Black America.
Okay. Let's stop right here, because this is going to be a common theme as we continue to go through this video. As we go through this video, Candace, I apologize. Sambo Owens is going to continue to reference George Floyd as a martyr of the Black community, as if we have lifted him up into Malcolm X status or MLK status as far as a leader. This is what effectively, and she's great at this. She's great at this. This is gaslighting. This is two things. The first is gaslighting. The reason why she can gaslight this way is because she is severely disconnected from the Black community. Because if she was connected to the Black community, if she was connected to the progressive community, even the progressive white community, then she would know that we're not holding George Floyd up as some type of philosophical leader of the Black folks. She would know that. But she's gaslighting. Again, this video is not for Black people. This video is not aimed at Black people. This video is aimed at white conservatives who are feeling guilty, who guiltiness rests on their consciousness. That's what she's doing right here. She's gaslighting from the very first moment, because no one in the Black community has said that George Floyd represents the leader of our movement, and he's a martyr on behalf of Black philosophical thinking. No one said that. But let's let her get into it.
I'm going to explain why, and I hope that some of you guys will understand where I'm coming from. I have spent a considerable amount of time reading a lot of Black authors that I think are some of the most brilliant Black Americans breathing. Walter Williams, Shelby Steele, Thomas Sowell.
Stop right there. I want you to do your homework and research the three names that she just gave. Those are all conservative pundits, Black people who were her predecessors. You remember last week I talked about qualifying your network so that people know what lineage you are rocking, what set you claim. She's claiming her set right now. She's set tripping. She is just claiming the set, the Sambo set. There, I said it. Somebody hashtag that right now. She is representing the Sambo set. And what she just did is named you all of the Sambos, the line of Sambos, all men, by the way. That's another podcast for another day. She just gave you her Sambo set. She just threw up her Sambo signs. Sambo. Continue.
Thomas Sowell. I recently came across something that was an idea that was planted into my head by Shelby Steele, and it has been something that I cannot forget. It is something that will stick with me for the rest of my life, and it is something that I hope for the Black Americans that are watching will stick with you for the rest of your life. Shelby Steele said that the Black community is unique from other communities. Our culture is unique from other communities because we are the only community that caters to the bottom denominator of our society. Now,
boom, boom. Did you hear that? Now, what she is basically doing, I want you to listen very closely here. This is what makes this woman dangerous. This is what qualifies her as a serious threat. Is because what she did in that instance is what she has separated Black people and Black culture out from any other culture that exists out there, which makes us an anomaly of victimization or victimhood, right? It's the same way that Hitler did the Jews, where you start to talk about a human characteristic that is only appears in a particular group of people, and because it appears in that only particular group of people, when you begin to particularize a race of people, it allows for you to then treat them differently. And that is what she's doing. She is subconsciously gaslighting so that she can absolve white people for their treatment of Black people differently. Why? Because our culture is different. Because we have a different culture. We have a culture where we uplift the lowest amongst us. That's what she's about to say. She's about to say that Black culture has a way of uplifting the lowest amongst us. And see, here's the crazy part about that, y'all. Here's the crazy part about that. Most Black people, because they come from an oppressed situation inside of the United States, uplift themselves out of oppressive situations and mindsets. Let me give you an example. Y'all know that Malcolm X wasn't always called Malcolm X, y'all. Before he was a world-renowned leader of Black people who was one of the most popular Black people on the planet, Malcolm X could travel the world and was respected then and now around the world. Before Malcolm X was that, what was he, y'all? Who was he? Who was Malcolm X before he was Malcolm X? If he wasn't Detroit Red. Right? So what if Detroit Red had been the life for Black people who are in oppressive situations, which both include externally and internally, to snapshot them in a space of their lives, in a space where they may be living out their internal oppression, and then say, because they're living out their internal oppression, that is what qualifies them to be treated this way, is the worst type of gaslighting and white supremacist racist ideology exhibiting itself. But let her finish, y'all. I ain't even really let her get started. I just needed to break that down to you, because what she did right there and what she's doing right here is insidious. It's insidious. And guess what? White people want to believe that too. There are some white people who consider themselves good, upstanding white people that are willing to give Black people a fair shake, that have fallen into the thinking that Black people just come from a degenerate culture, and all they need to do is they just need to get their culture straight, because they keep lifting up the thugs and wait a minute. Do we want to go talk about who Thomas Jefferson really was? Do we want to really go talk about who the founding fathers really were when they were penning all that eloquent language? Were they not the thieves and dregs and rapists and pedophiles? And you want to talk about us uplifting? Listen, last time I checked, George Floyd don't have no statues in D.C. Last time I checked, George Floyd's image is not up on Mount Rushmore. The last time I checked. So when you want to check somebody's culture about uplifting the lowest dregs amongst society, the rapists, listen, R. Kelly ain't even up on Mount Rushmore. So cut it out, Candace. Don't be trying to particularize Black people. Shame on you. I'm glad you took care of them edges, though. Let's go.
Let me explain what that means. It means to say that not every Black American is a criminal, not every Black American is committing crimes. But we are unique in that we are the only people that fight and scream and demand support and justice for the people in our community that are up to no good. You would be hard pressed to find a Jewish person who has spent 5 stints in prison, who commits a crime and dies while committing a crime, and that the Jewish people champion and demand justice for. You will be hard pressed to find this in white America. You'll be hard pressed to find this even in Latino America.
Did you hear that? You hear her particularizing us, right? She's particularizing Black people, which is making white people feel good about themselves. And she's completely erasing history as far as just so that we're clear, the founding fathers of America, the founding fathers of Australia and New Zealand were let out of the prisons of the dregs. They were the dregs of society in Europe. That's why they brought their poor, raggedy asses over here in the first place. It's because they were thieves of Europe.
There's a person that is spent multiple times in prison. You are not going to see a bunch of Latinos coming out demanding justice for this person, even if, and I want to be very clear, what I'm saying is not any defense for Derek Chauvin. I hope Derek Chauvin gets the justice that he deserves to be implemented upon him and that the family.
You hear her now. Now what she's doing now, and let me just say, since the Shogun is on here, my therapist is on here. What she is doing now is called fair seeming. She's trying to be fair seeming by saying, I hope the police officer gets his justice. But she ain't did a whole damn video on the damn police officer and how police officers kill Black people. She's doing a whole video on Black people and pathologizing our oppression. That's what this video is. She is pathologizing Black oppression. And now she's saying this little bullshit to seem fair seeming. Let's go ahead.
George Floyd deserves justice for the way that he died. But I also am not going to accept the narrative that this is the Black community has to offer. For whatever reason, it has become fashionable over the last.
Hold up. Real quick, y'all. Real quick. And then I'm going to stop with this. I'm going to stop it. I bet you Candace Owens says that she's a Christian. I bet you $1 to a white powdered donut that Candace Owens would say that she's a Christian, that she's a follower of Jesus. Now, let me ask you something, my fellow Christians out there. Who did Jesus rock with? Who did Jesus roll with? If not the dregs of society. Jesus ran with the hoes, the pimps, the hustlers. Jesus hung with the cats on the street. If there were corners on the block, back in Jesus's day, that's where Jesus would have been rocking with. He was rocking with the hoes, the thieves, the thugs. And now you got the nerve to talk about black people uplifting the lowest amongst girls. Stop.
5 for us to turn criminals into heroes overnight. And it is something that I find to be despicable, and it is something that I refuse to stand by any longer, and I am not going to play a part in it, no matter how much pressure comes from black liberals and black conservatives as some token of people wanting to believe that this is the only way you can be black, is you have to say this was wrong, and that this person was amazing. I won't do that. George Floyd was not an amazing person, and as soon as this video hit the internet, I did just basic searches. Everyone jumped on it and was looking at the police officer, and everyone agreed that the police officer was wrong, and the police officer has been arrested. So that is not the reason I'm not discussing that, is because that is not something that has been misconstrued in the media. He has been turned into the devil that he is, and there is no reason for us to harp on that any longer, because white Americans are not uplifting Derek Chauvin as a victim or pretending that he's an amazing human.
Wait, did she say that white Americans are not uplifting that police officer? She is a lying Sambo. Go watch how these white folks raise money for these white police officers. She's a liar. Candace, I'm sorry, Sambo Owens, you're a liar.
But George Floyd is being uplifted as an amazing human being.
Who's uplifting George Floyd as an amazing human being? There's a difference. Sambo Owens, I want you to listen very clearly to what it is I'm about to say to you. There's a difference between uplifting someone for being an amazing human being from uplifting someone for being a human being. And you have conflated the two, purposefully, I might add. No, George Floyd, in his own particular right, may not. Oh, I like this one, Auntie Ruckus. In her own right, we uplift George Floyd because his humanity deserves to be uplifted, not because he was an incredible human being. Although I can make an argument that he probably was that too. Maybe not to you, Sambo Owens. Maybe he didn't pick enough cotton in the way that you would like for him to pick cotton. Maybe he didn't get the shuffle on the way that you would like to see us shuffle. Maybe he used a little too much marijuana. And yes, George may have had a drug habit. Those are some of the outcomes of living under oppressive societies. However, don't mistake us uplifting him as a human being for us celebrating the fact that he had frailties. Just as Sambo Owens, we can recognize that you're a brilliant Black woman, but you are as confused and as wicked as they come. You are rotten to your Sambo core, and you're redeemable. You're only 31. You got a minute. Let these white boys get finished with you. That's coming. You think you're gonna be the darling? Let them get finished with you, dear. Continue.
For those of you who have not yet seen the clips and did not pursue or wait for more clips to come out, first and foremost, George Floyd at the time of his arrest was high on fentanyl, and he was high on methamphetamine. This came back in both of his autopsy reports. If you pursue the 911 transcript, you can see the person describing somebody who is out of their mind high, and which is what made the person fearful, because he tried to use a bill that I guess, with a fake bill to purchase something, and then he was outside acting weird, and they, in their police call, said that this person was obviously distorted on drugs. When he is put into handcuffs and is put against the wall, a baggie of what looks to be like cocaine or it's a white bag.
Candace, don't act like you don't know what was in that white bag. You know all white things clearly because you sleep next to it every night. So don't get all ambiguous about white stuff now. You are a master of whiteness. Clearly. So please, sweetheart, don't. We know you know what was in that bag, especially if it was cocaine. But I digress.
It's a white baggie that he drops onto the floor that you can see in an image. If you look up the clip, the media is refusing to circulate it. You can find it on Twitter. If you use DuckDuckGo and look up George Floyd baggie, you can watch the clip yourself with your own eyes. He had drugs on him at the time of his arrest. Now, barring all of that, nobody thinks that he should have died during this arrest, but what I find despicable to be is that everyone is pretending that this man lived a heroic lifestyle when he didn't, and I want to talk about what his lifestyle was leading up to this moment and why I refuse to accept the narrative that this person is a martyr or should be lifted up in the Black community and that we should be buying t-shirts with his name on it, okay?
So let me tell you, and this is why I love Black people. For the same reason that Candace hates herself is the same reason why I love Black people. Because Black people are willing to put the lowest of the low on a t-shirt because, as my sister Abini says, because he was murdered. Black people can put, hold up. I'm about to take y'all to church. Let's go to church for a minute. Oftentimes, when we see the scene of the cross, we see 3 crosses, and we represent 3 crosses. This is why I said Sambo Owens ain't a real Christian. They show 3 crosses. Jesus was on one. Who was on the other 2? Were those upstanding individuals that should not be celebrated? Should we not be showing 3 crosses because the other 2 crosses had on top of on the cross thieves and liars? And if it was Sambo Owens' world, there would just be one cross with baby white Jesus who was perfect. She forget that Jesus flipped over some tables, right? Continue.
So here we have first and foremost to start from the bottom of his record. And by the way, I am not saying that.
Okay, so y'all, hold up. This is about to be painful. This is about to be painful because what she's about to do, y'all, and I don't know about any of the other of you Black men who are on this feed right now. She about to bring up homeboy's arrest record. And let me just tell you now, before the TMZ expose comes out about your boy Soul Ashemu, I've been arrested a few times. And if the police officers choke me out and some Black woman who just got her edges together last week, but still wears these jacked up t-shirts and prostitutes herself to the conservative base, starts talking about me, one of y'all better get a subscription to Zoom and come on here and set her ass straight. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Deserve a second chance. People get arrested, and some people can serve time in prison. And I believe in second chances, but I do draw the line when it comes to second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and ninth chances. 1998, he spent 10 months in prison for theft with a firearm. That was the first prison stint that I could find on him. In 2002, he spent 8 months in prison for a cocaine offense. In 2004, just 2 years later, he spent another 10 months in prison for a cocaine offense. In 2005, he spent another 10 months in prison for having...
Is this disgusting, y'all? Is this disgusting? Listen, just so that you're clear, the orange Cheeto in chief tweeted this video out. This is the epitome of disgusting. What she is doing is what all white folks did. For those of you who are old enough to remember OJ and remember Rodney King, what she is doing is justifying his murder. She's trying to pull down his image. She's trying to bring him down so that in the subconscious mind, it justifies the fact that he was, and she goes on to say it, that he was a thug. So thugs should be kneeled on and killed. Thugs deserve that. That's what a thug deserves, because a thug has no humanity. I'm not going to even go through the rest of her reading Homeboy's thing. I'm going to get into her political diatribe that is coming up now.
He was an example of a violent criminal his entire life. Up until the very last moment. Now again, I want to be clear, this is not a defense for Derek Chauvin. No one that I have spoken to, no one in the news is defending Derek Chauvin. He is getting what he has coming to him. Okay, great. But why are we pretending that this criminal should be upheld as a citizen, as a martyr in Black America? A martyr for a fake narrative, by the way.
Did you hear what she said? I want you, that was not a Freudian slip. She is speaking into the psyche of the white mind, to those white people who are susceptible to white racist narratives. She said we're holding him up like he's a citizen. That's what she said. That was not misspeak. She's a master at mind screwing white people. She's mastered it.
Narrative, by the way. Police brutality, racially motivated police brutality is a myth. Okay, so let's get into that. Not only are we using this death, right, and allowing it to cause these riots and protests, pretending this was some upstanding citizen in the Black community who was tackled down and killed for no reason, right? Not only are we allowing it to inspire riots in which Black people are dying, in which actual upstanding Black citizens are dying. Case in point, I'm sure you guys have all now seen David, the sheriff that just was shot and killed.
David the sheriff. I can't. Y'all handle this.
Because he was trying to protect a pawn shop. Please look him up if you haven't seen it. I'm blanking on his last name. His first name is David. He was shot and killed for trying to protect a pawn shop from looters. An upstanding citizen. An actual head of a police. He was the head of a police his entire life. 77 years old. Did everything right. So we don't have to kill upstanding Black citizens because a non-upstanding Black citizen, a career Black criminal died. Now, did he deserve to die in that manner? No. I can't say it enough. Nobody deserved to die in that manner. But I will be damned if the rest of us upstanding Black citizens have to suffer because of this incident.
I'm sorry. Candace, what is your white edges having self? How have you suffered? I'm missing that. How have you suffered? Somebody update me on that. I'm missing how Sambo Owens is suffering.
That rarely ever happens in America. So here are some numbers for you people that are still believing.
Okay, this is going to get good. So why is she about to quote data? I'm going to tell you why she quotes data. Because for those of white people love data. They love numbers. They love them. And she has mastered the white male psyche. She is the bed wench of white supremacy, of white racist supremacy. That is who Sambo Owens is. She's the bed wench of white supremacy. Yeah, I said it. And I'll back it up. And I'm about to show you why her data is flawed. Because we can do that too. However you want it.
that police brutality is a real racially motivated police brutality is a real thing. First and foremost, okay, you have a 25% higher chance as a violent white criminal of dying at the hands of a police officer than you.
Okay. Did you hear what she said? You have a 25% higher chance of dying as a white criminal as you do a black person. What she's failing to do here, and this is gaslighting. White people, black people are only 40 million, 42 million people of the population. What she's doing is she is doing by sheer numbers. She's not doing by percentages of the population. Black people only represent 12% of the population. So it's automatic that if white people are in the 150 millions, the 200 million level of people in society, that there are going to be more white criminals and more white incidences than there are black ones. So the question isn't about equality in numbers. The question is about percentages of the population. Candace, Sambo Owens knows this, but she's playing on the fact that Jethro and Cooter and them aren't going to think that out. That, you know, they're too busy waving the Confederate flag to do the math. But we think around here in the field, Sambo Owens. So continue with your whack facts. Hashtag whack facts.
You do as a black last year, a total of 9 unarmed black men were killed by police officers, and 19 white men were killed by police officers.
You see that? And that's why I said, in order for you to listen to Sambo Owens, there has to be a part of you that wants to believe it, because you just have to blank out that there's 42 million black people, but 150 plus, maybe 200 white people, 200 million white people. So of course there's going to be 19, but 19 compared to 200 million of the population and 9 compared to only 12% of the population is an extreme amount. Edges, come on now.
For those of you that aren't good at mathematics, right, you might be thinking, oh, but Candace, white people represent 60% of the population, and black people represent just 13% of the population. It doesn't matter what percentage of the population you represent, it matters what percentage of the violent criminal community you represent. And unfortunately, black community commits a disproportionate amount of crimes compared to...
Boom. Can I break that down for y'all? Just so it doesn't enter your psyche and you start thinking that black people, most crimes are economic crimes. Most crimes, let me say that again. Most crimes are economic crimes. So if you are a population of people that are that are oppressed in society and put into a position of oppression, where you're dealing with oppression every day, economically, socially, then just like if you put rats inside of a cage, those that have access to water and food are not going to have to go through the machinations that those that are being kept from water or food in that cage would have to go through. But Sambo Owens knows this. But Cooter, and I'm not just gonna say it's the trailer park trash that just wants to believe Sambo Owens. It's not just them. It's middle class, upper middle class white folks too. You'd be surprised who think they're progressive, but they fall for this because of their white guilt. And instead of assuaging their white guilt with being involved with justice movements, they do it by saying, listen, I listened to Sambo Owens and she said, so if she said it, then
the white community. Let me tell you, 6% of the population, right? Black men, 6% of the population account for 44% of all murders in this country, according to 2018.
Stop. Murder of who, Sambo Owens? Murder of who? Of white people? Black men account for the murdering of white people? Are black people kneeling on white people's necks? Is that why you're talking about this? No, Edges, that is not why you're talking about this, because black people are killing black people predominantly. And Edges, you know this. You know this. But she's not going to say that.
Statistics. That is what you call a gap. And yet white people who represent 60% of the population, we represent 13, black men are 6%, represent 50% of all the murders, right? That makes no sense. That makes no sense. A 6-point variation in a community where we are extreme minorities.
Boy, let me say this. She is warming the cold white heart right here. White people are clicking their heels. This is why someone like Trump hopped all over this, because his heart is warmed by these false facts.
We commit 50% of all violent offenses, evenly split, and we're only 13% of the population, okay? So we have a lot more encounters with police officers. And don't say the police officers are coming around because we're black. I'm talking about violent criminals. I'm talking about murder, 44% of murders, okay? You want to talk about real statistics? The police officers have way more to be fearful of in the black community than the other way around, okay? We commit.
So listen to what I'm saying to you. She is now justifying the Gestapo inside of the ghetto. They said the same thing about Jewish people as the Holocaust was taking place. That is what she's doing right there. She is justifying the Gestapo being inside of the ghettos that are made by who? They call projects for a reason. It is a project, but it's a project of who? Whose project is it? Is it a black project or is it a white project where black people live? So you're trying to blame the rats instead of trying to blame the person that built the mousetrap in the first place. Edges, come on.
On average, a police officer is 18 and a half times more likely to be killed by a black person than the other way around. Okay? So this entire narrative is complete smoke and mirrors. It's all made up. It's just election fodder. It's white versus black because it's an election year, not because black Americans are suffering at the hands of police officers more than white Americans. Do some police officers do the wrong thing? Yes. I don't think there's anybody in the world who has not encountered a police officer and thought this person is an absolute jerk who is power tripping, whether you are black or white. We know they exist. And we know they're always going to exist, by the way, because they're human beings. Oh. And sometimes human beings suck. In fact...
sometimes human beings suck. But here's the thing, Sambo Owens. If you suck as a human being, you shouldn't have power over other human beings. And that's the point, Sambo Owens. That's the point. If you suck as a human being, you should not be over other human beings. You shouldn't have power over other human beings, Sambo Owens. But guess what? That's where policing came from. Edges. That's where the institution of policing came from. It came from really nasty, poor white human beings chasing down black human beings. That's the history of policing. So what we see right now is not new. What we're seeing now is the 2020 version of slave catching. And guess what? Slave catchers were not great human beings. Edges, I need you to do some history here. I need you to do some history before you get on running your mouth.
If you want to attack a community for accidental slayings or brutality, did you know that doctors accidentally kill a quarter of a million people every year because of mistakes? There's been doctors that have been arrested.
Do you hear this Negro-pean? Hashtag that, Negro-pean. This Negro-pean right here is now equating a police officer who was kneeling on a man's neck for for 8-9 minutes to a doctor who may make a mistake and it ends up in a loss of life. If this is not the most gaslighting Negro pen of 2020, listen, my uncle used to give out something called the Watermelon Awards. Sambo Owens, without a doubt, you deserve the Watermelon of the Year award because you are killing it here, homegirl. Let me let you finish soft shoeing so me and the people can go on and finish talking.
Arrested for killing people because they wanted to. Do we protest and boycott doctors? Do we assume all doctors are horrible human beings because some doctors are? Or do we realize that society is not perfectible? People suck in every profession. It is no excuse to paint society with a broad brush. It is certainly no excuse to accept the Democrat narrative, okay, that black people are being disproportionately hunted down by police officers because of the color of their skin. You want to know the best way to avoid not being brutalized by a police officer is to limit the amount of encounters you need to have with them, especially when it comes to violent crimes. Okay.
Did you hear that? The best way to not have a violent encounter with a police officer is to not have contact with them. But if police officers over-police black communities, then do you see how her logic breaks down to shit, to trash, as my daughter would say, to complete trash? She just said herself why black people are dying is because of the over-policing. But then she says the way to get rid of it is to not have the police in proximity. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. No shit. I am surprised. We're almost done with this, y'all.
Okay. I am not going to stand for this continual bottom-feeding narrative of us martyring people that have had 5, 6, 7 stints in prison and then pretending they were upstanding heroes to our community. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. Excuse me.
Oh, wait a minute. Sambo's lost her. She's lost her temper now, y'all. Y'all have ruffled Sambo Owens' feathers. Excuse her language. She usually doesn't get hot and bothered like this, except when they don't put raisins in her potato salad. That's the last time that she just dagnabbit had to lose it. But this is right. This is a close second. Raisins in potato salad, absent, and this.
Use my language. It's absolute bullshit, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of having to play pretend. I'm tired of sitting here and being called a coon or Uncle Tom because I won't play this bottom-feeding game with you. If you want to hang up posters of criminals on your wall and talk about them as...
No, you're not Uncle Tom. Uncle Tom fought for his people. Coon, I don't name call. However, if someone were to call you a coon, I'm not going to, yeah, I might have to let that slide. I understand.
As your martyrs do it. Your martyrs do it. Do it.
You can do it.
You can do it.
Kobe Bryant.
Kobe Bryant was my idol. Okay, I'll keep a photo of Kobe Bryant. You can keep on to George Floyd, pretend he was an upstanding human being that just once or twice put a gun across a pregnant woman's belly. Could you imagine that woman right now? That black woman, by the way, watching everybody pretend this person was an upstanding human being who just at the age of 42, after 5 prison stints, was going to get his life together.
I mean, it's embarrassing.
We are embarrassing in that regard. Right?
This is why we have a cycle and a toxic culture because nobody wants to tell the truth in Black America. It's so easy to be a victim. It's so easy to ask black people to bow down and apologize and do all these things for us.
See that? And I'm gonna end this. We're gonna close this down here. But did you see that? She is absolving white guilt. That is why she just did that. It's so white people. We're making white people feel bad by telling them to bow down. That's why Sambo Edges Owens has a platform. That's why. That's why Sambo Edges Owens has a platform, y'all.
crap.
We're almost done.
It's a lie.
It's a lie. It's a farce.
Our biggest
problem is us. Okay?
I agree.
That's why we don't talk about it when black on black crime happens. Why we don't talk.
I agree that the biggest problem is us. Part of the biggest problem is that we lack as a community a drop squad. And for those of you who may be a little too young to understand what a drop squad is that when Negro peons like this got in front of a microphone and started running their mouth, they didn't stay in, they weren't around that long to continue to do that. That's what's missing in the black community is a drop squad on people that keep running to Massa and telling him that there's something called the Underground Railroad and where we can be found.
When 40 black people are killed in one weekend during Memorial Weekend in Chicago. We don't want to talk about any of that stuff. We don't want to talk about Baltimore. We don't want to talk about New Jersey. We don't want to talk about any of these places where black people are being slaughtered by other blacks, because that would mean that we had to be personally accountable, right? That would mean personal responsibility. We don't do personal responsibility in our community. We don't do it. We blame white people.
How would you know what we do in the black community? How would you know, Miss Raisin in the potato salad, saltine cracker, Miss Mayonnaise? How would you know what we do in the black community? Because the last time I checked, our black community talks about black on black crime quite a bit. Last time I remember was the truce in '92 between the gangs in LA. I think that we talk about it quite often. You and your edges may not talk about it, but we talk about it quite a bit.
Right? We only point a camera to white people when they do something, even though we do it at a way higher rate to ourselves, right? We celebrate our drug dealers. We're the only community, right, that would ever create hashtags to free people from prison.
Hold up. She said black people celebrate our criminals. All right, I'm sorry. There's a whole genre of mobster movies that exist, and every popular white actor that has ever graced the film industry, from Al Pacino to Kevin Costner they've all played mobsters. And you want to say that black people are the only communities that celebrate gangsters? Let's not forget that when black people talk about being gangsters, when Biggie Smalls talks about being a gangster and the names that they're using white people names. They're talking about all the white thugs inside of the mob that are involved in racketeering and murder. Don't act like it's us. Don't pathologize us, edges. Don't do it. Your facts are even wrong.
Because they committed crimes, like free Meek Mill, free this rapper, free this rapper. How hard is it to not spend multiple times in prison? How difficult is that? Is that too hard for us? Is that way too high of a mountain for us to scale, to do the right thing, to be upstanding citizens? That is the call to action that I have for Black America with Flexit. Like, why do we keep fulfilling this narrative? What do you think the perception of us, by the way, is on the outside? You ever look at the comments? You ever go into like an anonymous blog and see what people say? Oh, just black people being black?
No, edges. We don't go into white people's alt-right commentary, besides Theo, but that was a project, to see what white people say about us. Because guess what? We don't give a that's you, because you're sleeping with one. So you're probably peering over his shoulder while he's going through his alt-right perusing for the evening. But most black people don't know or don't go to see what the KKK is saying about them. You know why? Because we know already. This is just news to you, dear. This is just news to you.
Black people, I see those racist comments. Oh, just black people got to riot. Black people got to be black people. You know how they are. Oh, just black people being ignorant. That is the perception. When people get to be anonymous to talk about us, that's what they think about us.
So what?
They think
I'm okay with that.
We are the kind of people that will forever uphold criminal.
And you know what they think about you, Edges? They think that you're a hoe. They do think that too. You do know that. They think that you are as, what did homeboy, what was the dude, the disc jockey in New York said about the black female basketball players? They think that you're a nappy-headed hoe who doesn't get her edges sorted out straight and that you're just good for warming the bed. You know, they think that too about you. In fact, the people that you rock with think that the most about you. So if you don't care, why should we?
Criminals as the martyrs of our society, that we will never take account for the things that we do wrong, right? I'm a big believer that no matter what color you are, you do stupid things, you win stupid prizes, okay?
So I'm not going to take this out any longer. I just wanted to do this show. And I appreciate you for hanging out with me. I want to give a shout out to some people before I get out of here. And I'm not getting out of here just yet, but I do want to make sure I give a shout out to Esther, to Abini, to Cassandra, to Sarah, to my girl Kata's on here. I see lots of my folks in here. I see y'all. I see my girl, my man Shiny Sean is in the house. My homegirl Bianca. I'm glad you stuck to the end, sister. I know the edges part was really getting to you. Check this out. What's up, Candace? Good to see you here too, sister. We have to check Sambo Owens. We have to check her. And I know it hurts people of color to check her. But when I say that she does a lot of damage, trust me, she does a lot of damage. But she's a young woman. She's 31. And so, you know, it is what it is. I want to thank you for coming through tonight. I know that took a minute to break that down. Somebody go share that with Sambo Edges Owens so that she could be educated about, you know, what's going on with her. Will she change? No, because she's making a fat check, y'all. She ain't doing that shit for free. And because she's not doing it for free, a lot of black people may be like, oh, yeah, work it, girl, work it. Listen, no, she's doing a lot of damage. Listen, she's hurting herself. She's hurting herself. Trust and believe she's hurting herself. It is what it is, you know? So I want to thank everybody for following through this evening. What's up, Michelle? It's good to see you, sister. It's been a minute. My man Larry fell through. Josie, it's always good to see you, sister. Listen, we'll be coming to you on Thursday. We're going to be talking about black voting and where we stand with voting and what that may look like. I want to thank you for following through this evening. I see people are just now logging on. Y'all going to have to go back and see this. We had to break down Sambo Edges Owens for her depiction of people of color. And I want to make sure that everybody that you're staying safe and sound, that you are sorting yourself out, that you are loving on yourself. Listen, that's a black woman who just hates herself, and we have that. We have to understand that Sambos are not born, they are made. Sambo Owens is a product of white supremacist culture. Understand that she too is a victim. So even in as disgusting as she is, we still have to recognize her humanity, and we still have to lay the blame squarely on where that comes from. What you are seeing from her is a result of being inside of an oppressive system. Go back and research Sambo Owens, and you'll find that she used to be fighting against oppression, and then she swallowed the other pill. Because oppression does that to the weaker ones amongst us. It happens. Just like in any herd, there are weak ones that fall to the back, but let's not forget that she too is a victim. And that's easy for us to do because we get angry because we know how difficult she makes it for black people. We know the harm. We know the lies that she's telling. I just want us to remember that she is still a victim of white supremacist culture. White people made her. White oppression made her, more accurately stated. White oppression made her. And so rather than to get upset and angry at the patient, I would rather point the finger squarely at the witch doctor that made her. And that is white supremacist culture that is represented by the person that we have in office right now and all of the king's men. And so on that note, with that said, thank you for tuning in. My name is H Soul Ashe Mu. This is the Righteous Rage Podcast. Do me a favor. Share this out. Share this out. Let's make this go viral so that Sambo Edges Owens gets a lesson in her own oppression. Let's do that. Oh, 2-minute comments. Y'all want 2-minute comments still? I will allow 2-minute comments because I said it. And I want to be a man of my word. That's the line for the 2-minute take. If anybody wants to come on for your 2-minute take, make it happen right now, Captain. You got about 30 seconds to come online. I will give you your 2-minute take so you can say what it is that you need to say. Let me make sure that I throw this up real quick. You know what, family? I've overgone my time. We're 8:20. We'll do it Thursday. That's a promise. So in the meantime, and in the between time, remember, we must love and protect one another. We have nothing to lose but our chains. H Soul, on behalf of Righteous Rage Podcast, out.